What's going on, everyone? Episode 78 after further review. Ben, Ryan, Chase back at it again. Another live episode back to our normal Tuesday grind. It's been a crazy summer. We've been flexible with our schedules, looking to get back on this Tuesday 7:30 p.m. weekly thing and grind out some shows. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing good, hanging in there, excited for the week that is the sports world. Well, how are you guys doing?
I'm good. Yeah, we're getting to the playoffs. Yeah. MLB, we got obviously football coming right up in a couple days. Ryan and Chase with the football shirts. I got the Mets shirt. We're all rocking something, and we got a fun show today.
Yeah. What do we got on tap today, Chase?
Yeah, we got a whole lot. We'll dip into some over/under NFL picks. I know we're all excited for week 1 of NFL. Can't get it going without that. After that, we'll take a little dive to a remembrance tribute part with Johnny Gaudreau. I'm sure we're all familiar with the news that happened this past weekend. Touch a little baseball, Mets playoff chances, and if Francisco Lindor, does he have it to be the MVP this season? We'll discuss. And lastly, we'll get to a little bit of NASCAR. Exciting weekend at Darlington. I'm sure you all watched, and if you didn't, we'll give you the action.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Appreciate the rundown, Chase. Let's get right into it. Over-under picks. We all did this separately, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, but we're going to talk about the one specifically that we agreed on.
Yeah. So instead of last year, if you listen to our episodes, we went through all 32 teams. Mm-hmm. This year we went AFR after our hours, build our parlay separately with what we all agreed on. We came up with exactly 5 NFC teams, 5 AFC teams that we think are tasty picks. Mm-hmm. 10 free picks coming to you if you're looking for some future NFL bets before the season starts in a couple days.
I love it. We're dishing out fantasy football last week, NFL over-unders this week. It's just heating up here.
Yeah, and on top of that, before we get into it, reminder, we have a day or two. We'll try to get this out ASAP, but Eliminator Challenge.
Yeah.
Free for everyone. We got some prizes, so join. We'll post something on Instagram later, just a link to the group.
Yeah.
So, and appreciate that, Chase. Yeah, so right there. Glance. Yep, so that's how you get there. We'll put a link on Instagram on like a story or something that way.
It's very user-friendly as ESPN does. We like to use ESPN for a lot of fantasy leagues.
And it's fun. Free to enter.
So it's the group password right there. And give out some prizes to the top few people to win. Try to beat us too. We're going to collect it. We actually have to make a pick tonight, guys. We've got to make our pick. Make sure we don't miss that.
I got one in the back.
All right. Yeah. So all fair. We don't want to give them any hints out, but I'm excited for this. But let's go over some win total picks.
Let's do it. So we got, like Ryan said, we got 10. And we're going to get right to it here in a second. All right. So we got first one up. We got the Bucks over 7.5 wins. Looks like we're all thinking the Bucks can do as well as they did last year. Kind of surprised everyone. And the Baker, Mike Evans connection still there, and they made some improvements.
Yeah, I would agree. And I also think the biggest thing for the Bucks is that their division should be pretty weak overall. I think the most consistent quarterback they're going to have, he's going to face, is 2 new people. But for the most part, I think outdueling Kirk Cousins is a possibility, and same with Derek Carr. I think both those guys are beatable quarterbacks. Obviously, it's going to elevate the Falcons, but their division didn't take a giant leap forward.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins is, good regular season quarterback coming off a major injury, so you don't know. And that Falcons team. New coach, it might take them a few games for sure to get going, and
an 8-9 season doesn't it sounds like a gimme. I know I was high on the Titans last year. A lot can go wrong, right? But an 8-9 season for Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't know about you guys. I'm thinking like they could easily be in the 9-10 range if they play well enough, and especially against their division. So
I agree.
All right, next up here,
second leg,
a little bit of a homer pick, I think, from one of the AFR crew, but Cowboys over 9.5.
Yeah, I can run with this one. 10-7 for a consistent playoff team over the better part of the last decade. I love overs, but in an NFL season where you get 17 games now, 10-7 is not bad. I know the Eagles are going to be there, but they usually split, right? And then the Commanders and Giants, that could easily – the Cowboys dominate those teams, especially the Giants. I mean, so that should be 3 to 4 wins right there. I mean, you're already sitting at 5 wins just in your division alone. I don't see why they don't get to 10. Overall, Trayvon Diggs is back. I know Deron Bland's out. They got some pieces here and there, but they're going to be around the same team I think they've had the past couple of seasons, which have been 10-win teams.
Yeah.
All right. You said it all.
Simple enough. Like 3.
All right, next up, all pretty high here on the Lions, over 10.5. I mean, they've shown, it's weird to say with the Lions, but hey, they have a fantastic team on both sides of the ball, and an 11-win plus season is definitely not out of the realm. Kind of like you said with that, division is, not great. So.
Yeah, they really only have one major threat at the moment. That's not to say that Caleb Williams and the Bears can't turn into something, but
Right.
And same with the Vikings. I mean, they have a lot of problems going on, but yeah, I think that the Lions could do that. They could clean up in their division. And like you said, Ben, they're a really stable team. They drafted really well. The high picks they've had, they've hit on, and they added to their defense again. So what was a problem last year with cornerback? They went out, spent a first-round pick on Terrion Arnold from Alabama. So that should boost up their defense a little bit, at least give them some more speed and coverage. So yeah, I like the Lions. I think that they can do it. And 11 wins should get them the whole division.
Yeah, and I don't think it's crazy to say this might be one of their best chances at a Super Bowl like ever. Like they have a great roster. They put it together. They have the coach. They have guys that believe in the system. So, I mean, they're
not a fluke.
Yeah.
They're not a fluke. I didn't mean, but I mean, and Jared Goff, he's been to one Super Bowl. He's been to another NFC Championship game. Like, he's not the most flashy guy, but there are plenty of guys that win that aren't flashy. And Dan Campbell is like, I was high on him before, but it's easy to like guys and coaches and they easily fail.
And Goff has so many weapons. I mean, between St. Brown, Gibbs, like he's got a lot of explosive guys on that offense. So
yeah, it's a little dicey, but because they could win their division with 9 wins potentially, but
I like it. I think 11 is possible for sure. All right, next up here we got the Rams over 8.5 wins.
Yeah, I think leg 4 we're on now of our thing. Over 8.5. I mean, I feel like they're kind of in a similar situation with the Buccaneers where I haven't fully put them to bed in the last 4 to 5 years, and they've been pretty solid over that range. It's the biggest question obviously will be Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp and their health throughout the season, but again, 9-8, it's kind of like the Bucs. 9-8 does not seem like it's out of reach at all for this squad.
No, and I was high on them last year. Obviously,
I think we probably put them in our last year's and missed. We're running it back to tell you it's going to happen.
We probably hit because they had a better year than projected last year. Right?
Yeah, they made it to the playoffs and lost to the Lions.
I think that was a good pick because they were down. They had a really bad year, 2022, and then definitely a bounce back year. So definitely a big Super Bowl hangover, and then a much better year last year. So the emergence of Puka and all that stuff. So yeah. So we can go the next one. Vikings under 7.5. I'm surprised at you, Ryan, for this because I pictured you. You're always hyping up Sam Darnold as a big Sam Darnold guy, and here you go saying Vikings under.
Yeah, okay.
I have the jersey too, but I didn't wear it tonight.
Chase, I'll give you the floor. I have the only reason I bet against Sam Darnold is because I basically read that at some point they're gonna wean him out unless he's playing at like a Pro Bowl level. They're gonna wean him out for Bo Nix. No.
JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy. Yeah. Basically, what I read when I was doing my research, he's injured right now. Yes, but
the year, I think, right?
Is he?
I think, unless he can come back late in the year. But
it's not like Sam Darnold wasn't going to start the whole year.
I mean, I can see it because they're probably not going to be in a position, and then they'll probably see if they have something.
Yeah.
But who knows, Darnold?
He could also just suck so bad they have to bench him for somebody else.
Yeah.
But I wasn't happy about that pick. I also didn't know you both were going to match me.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're in a tough spot, and even though they have 2 really good wide receivers, I think not having a really good quarterback is just going to limit them. And they have 2 really, really good teams in their division, and so they're going up a steep mountain to accomplish a lot.
Yeah. That's one of the things that worried me in fantasy football. We had some top wide receivers that were on bad teams. You had like Justin Jefferson with the Vikings, and even like Malik Neighbors, who, it's hard to believe in like Justin Jefferson's such a great talent, like you said, Chase, but Sam Darnold's throwing him every week. I don't know.
Yeah.
They could get, the yards at the end of the game when they're down 42-20.
Oh, easily. I mean, but yeah, just to recap, NFC AFR parlay right here for win totals. We got the Bucks over 7.5, the Cowboys over 9.5, the Lions over 10.5, the Rams over 8.5. Yes, we love our overs, but we did throw in an under. The Vikings under 7.5.
Yeah.
Sneak peek, that is our only under, I believe, of our 10 picks we matched on. So overall high on the overs, but I don't know. I to me, the NFC one feels a lot better than the AFC one, but they're all. I mean, we all picked them for a reason, right? So
yeah,
should go 10 now.
We should, but should we get in the? I guess we got 5 more.
Yeah, let's get right back into the AFC side of things now. Run down them real quick. First up, Chase, Jags over 8.5.
Yeah, I think that they can do it. Obviously, they've shown a little bit of chokeability in these last few years. So that's a little bit worrisome, but it seems like they just keep adding more talent every year. So it has to come to a head at some point. I think a few years under Peterson probably has its benefits. Have to go back and look, but I don't know how long it took Doug to win the Super Bowl with the Eagles, but it was not that long he was there. I think maybe 3 years, not even 2. So I think he has that effect on guys where he can build some culture real quick, and they obviously have a good quarterback, so I feel like that's a boost to any of these teams that have the win totals that they do.
Yeah, this one as one of those weird ones for me, kind of gets me feeling uneasy. But I mean, I'm just gonna go back to Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, ETN. They're definitely a winnable team. You can't go 500 anymore in the NFL. 9-8. That's an easy. I know, Anthony Richardson will be back on the Colts. Obviously, the Texans took a major leap last year with Stroud. The Titans have gotten worse. They're for sure going to be an in the hunt 2 or 3 type of wild card team throughout the year, and just got to hope they win those 9.
Yeah, I got nothing on this. I just thought it felt over. It felt good.
Yeah.
So
dicey one. Yeah. Might be my 10th out of our 10 picks. Might be my least favorite.
All right. Well, Chase, we all agreed Ravens over. We did the projections last year. I remember we were all high on them again, and they had a great year. They just didn't get as far as you'd want in the playoffs, obviously. But another big win total for the Ravens.
Yeah, and I think it's warranted. The thing that worries me a lot is their offensive line. They gave away / let go of big chunk, 3/5 of their offensive line. And you're relying on Ronnie Stanley, who wasn't very reliable the last few years after his all-pro form. So that's a big question, but I think as long as they can make rooms in the alleys for Lamar and Derrick Henry, I think it's going to be a big boost. Zay Flowers in his year 2. Mark Andrews back healthy again. And hopefully they get Isaiah Likely some more targets just to be a little bit more deadly offensive. So we'll see how it goes. But I think division-wise, it could be again, last year where every team has a winning record. I could easily see that. But I think the Ravens are going to clean up, especially the games that they should be. So powerhouse team, they have to prove that they're not otherwise.
Yeah, that division's always tough, especially, you got the Steelers who are always in it, and the Bengals who are it's crazy.
It's one of those, back with the old school schedule, would be an easy 10-6 year for the Ravens, right? It's like, what are they going to do with that 17th game? I feel like they're setting up shop they could win the division, and the division's scrappy enough where 10 wins it could get there. But I mean, they've proven themselves, right? So they'll get 11. No stress, Chase. No stress.
All right. Next up, we got the Jets over 9.5. So we went, all 3 of our teams went over. Oh,
wait, the Jets are your team?
Yes.
I kind of forgot about that.
What did you forget?
I don't know. They've just been so bad the last 20 years that
They've been bad for a while, yeah, but that doesn't mean I switched teams.
No, I know you didn't.
Oh, okay.
I think you just
Did
kind
you
of
switch teams? Not because the team was bad, but you still
I did
switched.
switch
Yeah,
teams.
you
Yeah.
switched.
Okay. So all right. Anyways, Jets over 9.5.
Just over 9.5. So we're going. This seemed easy to me because as long as Rodgers is healthy, that's what I said last year. But they did do some things outside of Rodgers that should be helpful. Kind of like Chase said with the offensive line. Two of those offensive linemen went to one, and then a former Raven went to the Jets. Moses they traded for, and then
John Simpson.
Oh, who was the other one?
John Simpson.
Yeah, Simpson. That's who I meant. Yep, those two that really solidified them, and then they signed Tyrone Smith to a one-year deal
and drafted Olu Fashanu from Penn State.
Yep. They drafted a great. I know they gave Becton to the Eagles, not gave him, but traded him away. But I feel like their offensive line solidified a little bit. One of the biggest issues, obviously, with Zach Wilson last year, and then shoring up wide receiver with Mike Williams out there. I think a healthy Aaron Rodgers, and that team is really built like great on the defense. Even last year with Wilson, like they were in a lot of games, and so I like Saul as a coach, but this is the year they got to break that drought for the playoffs. We're on year 13 now of no playoffs, and the way the NFL's expanded the playoffs, they got to get in. They got to get in.
Yeah, somehow. And no lie. I mean, with just Aaron Rodgers' age, it's honestly Super Bowl or bust. It feels like for the Jets. I mean,
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So
they don't have like a quarterback waiting in the wings type of guy. Like it'd be great if I was like low-key hoping this year the Jets would draft. Did they draft? I don't think they drafted a quarterback. Like
I don't think so.
Even the third or fourth round or something, just like someone that could be a Jordan Love, like guy who waits a while. Because as much as we hate on Jordan Love, I think the Packers do that right. Like they draft a guy to let him sit behind a star for 2-3 years and then they play him. Like that's too many quarterbacks are rushed right into it. So we'll see, but I'm on the over 9.5 train.
I like 4.
Steelers over 8.5. Julia's favorite team. We had the Jets Steelers thing on the door on the other side, so
Chase, I'm a little surprised by you. I feel like Ben and I have been I've gotten it from Ben over the years, but we've always been high on Russell Wilson, and even with how horrible that Broncos season went last year, I'm not going to give up on them.
He was good though. Wilson was good.
Yeah. But the last 2 years, it's been a rough go. Right, he spent 2 years in Denver.
Yeah,
it's been kind of bumpy there. Yeah, but he had a better season. The Broncos didn't necessarily.
No,
but I don't know the division. I think the entire AFC North is just going to split. I think everyone's essentially going to go 3-3 against each other, and so I mean you have to step up 6 other wins elsewhere. Not looking at the Steelers schedule right off the top of my head, they'll get there.
Yeah, I agree. And the Ravens would split with a Kenny Pickett Steelers, so there's no doubt in my mind that we split against a Russell Wilson Steelers or Justin Fields for that matter too. I don't think he's an awful quarterback. They have 2 really good running backs. George Pickens is on the come up. Like Pat Freiermuth talked about him last week for fantasy purposes. I think he can have a standout year with either quarterback. So, the Steelers are always going to be coached well, keep themselves in games, low scoring. They keep adding. I mean, they're not flashy people that they add in the draft. It's not always the sexiest pick, but it's people who end up contributing to them late in the season. So that's why they're hard to discount 9 wins. I mean, I could see them maybe backdooring it, but I can see them getting there.
Yeah, no matter what that roster is, they always find a way to put at least an 8 to 9 win year.
Yep.
Up. So
Tomlin will make sure of it. So
yeah. All right, next up here, a little bit, and last one, I guess. We got the Texans over 9.5. We're all, I guess, high on the CJ Stroud train.
To point, and to also recap, 9.5 in the NFL, if it's a playoff team and their over-unders at 9.5, from now until it's time to go into the grave, you take the over. You take the over every time because all these teams would go 10-6, and you have an extra game. So plenty of them are probably going to win 11 games, maybe even 12. And the Texans fit right into that category. CJ Stroud is not a one-year wonder. He's going to come out and compete at a high level. He's humble. He's a professional, and he wins games. And D'Amico Ryans is awesome too, and he does a great job on the defensive side as their head coach. And I think this is one of the easiest ones besides the Cowboys. I think that was the easiest for me. But Texans over 9.5. That is a lock. That is a lock.
Yeah, I agree. That felt like the most slam dunk out of the entire group. I mean, that one just really felt natural. Not only that, they didn't really lose anyone mega, and they went and got Stephon Diggs, who I didn't touch with a 10-foot pole in fantasy this year, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to have a great year. He could finish top 5 at the end of the year. I mean, CJ Stroud has a massive arm. He boosted up everyone last year. He made Nico Collins, Noah Brown, got household names last year.
Yep.
So Dalton Schultz, all those guys. I mean, so if he was able to do that with those guys and Tank Dell back healthy again, I mean, there's more tape on him this year, and sure, teams are going to be harder against him, but he's big. He's got an explosive arm, and I think that they have the talent.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with my biggest concern with them, like kind of like you said, they got Diggs, which is great. And that's one of the reasons he dropped in fantasy is it feels like teams don't like it's too crowded almost. So like and that's fine for like an NFL squad maybe, but as long as Diggs and they don't like get into it in the wide receiver room or something where they're, one's not getting enough targets because there's a lot of mouths to feed right now. So there's always injuries, but kind of interesting to see how that dynamic works. And but I mean, they got a good defense too. So they got guys on every side of the ball, and I do like D'Amico Ryans as a coach also.
Yeah. So our AFC lineup, and now that we've gone through it, the only one that really scares me a bit is the Jags. So you got the Jags over 8.5 wins, Ravens over 10.5 wins, Jets over 9.5 wins, Steelers over 8.5 wins, and the Texans over 9.5 wins. So 5 teams, all overs. Pretty safe if you ask me. And real quick, Ben, scroll one more time up to the Cowboys over 9.5 wins. I just want everyone to know right here, a big fat 2 units on them tonight. Trayvon Diggs is back, baby. They're going to win 10 games. I know I said the Texans is a lock. It is a lock. Throw a unit on that. There are 2 units on the Cowboys over 9.5 wins. And in 18 weeks, you'll be shooting me an AFR teams messages in my DMs saying thank you for an early retirement because I just hooked you up big time. So, Cowboys over 9.5. Let's go.
I love it.
Trayvon Diggs for defensive MVP.
He could. Him or Micah, take your pick. They're so loaded. So
Micah's probably a better pick.
And both of you know it's a lock. Otherwise, you wouldn't have put it unless you were just kind of quickly going through.
No, I think over 9.5 is definitely reasonable for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I feel like they might be one of the best regular season teams.
Yeah. Yes.
Playoffs a little shaky, but they can always drop that stigma. They could drop that stigma at any point.
Yeah.
Oh, also, this brings me up.
Contract.
I do. This is going off the contract thing. I've mentioned this a little bit before. I'm buying into this conspiracy. If I could put a unit on it, I would in a second. Next year, your new Cowboys head coach is gonna be Deion Sanders, and your new quarterback, Shedeur Sanders.
Oh my gosh,
It's gonna happen.
Down now.
Chase, you're willing to put money on that?
I'm willing to put money on that right now. I will. I know it's lofty. You might say lofty. I don't see it. The only person that Deion Sanders always forever has praised, you can look up all of his interviews over the last 3 years, Jerry Jones. The guy apparently makes no mistakes ever, is the greatest man.
Yeah.
And I think Deion Sanders is great
He
at
does
setting
like
himself
prime
up for the
time.
next move.
Yeah.
And why would he stay at dumpy Colorado after his kids leave? I wouldn't. Yeah. If I could talk Jared Jones into giving me $100 million to be their coach and to draft my son, sure.
This one may want to be one of those bold takes.
Yeah, we heard it here first.
Yeah, you definitely heard it here first.
Yeah, I have 2 so that's the number one. The second one I'll hold on to, but it involves Carson Wentz, the Chiefs, and their Super Bowl chances.
Okay, we'll save that one for
I like it.
for next week, maybe.
Yeah, for next week or whenever it feels relevant that Patrick Mahomes gets hurt and Carson Wentz is inserted in the lineup. That's when we'll bring it back up.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, we got a packed show. Obviously, we spent a good amount of time on that, but we had to get through. The NFL's coming.
That's fun.
Everyone's excited for it, but we do have a couple of things we want to touch on quick throughout the remainder of our show.
Yeah, and as I think on a more somber note, we'll just quickly touch on. I know it's a little sad, so we won't spend too much time, but just wanted I guess, say a quick Johnny Gaudreau tribute. Obviously, really sad over the weekend. Just kind of, unimaginable as a family. Just the hockey community, everyone just mourning the loss, and just a tragic situation all around for everyone.
Yeah, and I know we already know the details of it, and it's heartbreaking. You can't even write something that horrible. So I just hope all the support and the memories and the people reaching out to the family helps in healing, because I feel like that's the only thing that can come from this point. But I just wanted to just give the tribute, and it was actually really weird too, in a strange sort of way. College game day was at Texas A&M, and they had Johnny Manziel on. And if you would have gave me a bet back then, just which Johnny hockey or Johnny football, probably would have picked Johnny hockey all day. And it's crazy that Johnny Manziel has like been able to turn his life around to become like, a good seemingly mentor to everyone at Texas A&M. So it's good to know, because they were really going on different paths, and who knows where that was going. But it's just funny that at the same time, all those things were happening, and obviously Johnny Manziel doing what he was doing, undersized at college at Texas A&M and blowing out Alabama, and Johnny Gaudreau on the hockey side of things, he was diminutive inside, just a guy who doesn't look like he'd be able to do what he was doing, but it was really hard to not keep your eye on him every time he was on the ice. And for a guy like me, who grew up as a hockey fan and knowing all the Jersey guys that made it to the league, the Vance Greenreich, Bobby Ryan, D'Angelo, the Gaudreau, it just was really cool to see somebody that really loved the city and wanted to represent the city. And it didn't work out. Obviously, it was unfortunately not the right timing for the Flyers, if you could believe it. But and to get the price of the player he was, and he was a point per game player in Calgary. I mean, really changed the game of hockey for a little bit there, of just being an undersized guy and skillful, just doing what he could do. And for just a local connection, always made me a fan, because I could see he was a great guy, Lady Bing winner, which is like the community, just sportsman of the year almost for NHL. And he was one that just perpetually gave off those vibes of a guy you'd want to run into and meet, just the same way me met Kelsey, just a guy who wouldn't really shy away from it and is just good all around. So it was really a gut punch for hockey fans and the sports world in general on Friday to wake up to that news. Oh, I'll say that for a second. But it was really awful. And, just hopefully we can keep the memory going of a guy. And it's unfortunate that he couldn't wear the Flyers sweater. It would have been as a fan, really one of those moments of, I don't even know how to describe it, but just of a guy who grew up being the fan to get to play for the team. But it was neat that he was able to play in the city a bunch of times and did the Final Four that was in Philly. So he had a lot of special moments. So just wanted to touch briefly on it and say what it meant to be a fan of hockey, to watch his skill set. And obviously his brother didn't make it that far, but still obviously a way more talented hockey player than most of the population here. So for both of them, it's I felt compelling to just say what an impact he had, and never met the guy, don't have any ties to him, but just really one of those times where a senseless action led to so much heartbreak, and it's horrible because there's nothing you can do to replace it, but just keep it in memory.
Honestly, Chase couldn't said it. I could not have said it any better than that. I mean, obviously thoughts to the Gaudreau family, like you said, from where he's at, Philly fans, NHL fans, sports fans. It definitely touched across the entire country and beyond that, because, the NHL spreads global. But, I mean, I'm sure, Chase, the NHL will probably do plenty of stuff to remember him. Calgary will, but throughout the season too. But, it's just one of those things that just absolutely sucks, especially with, like, great hockey player and, solid human, and it's tough. But we definitely wanted to say something on here too, because I mean, these types of it's it's hard to be an athlete, and I think he did a good job at how he just went about his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know him really as a hockey player at all, but just reading on some of the stuff, I just feel for his brother's wife as well, and his parents, and his wife, and I know his brother's wife was like 6 months pregnant. Just can't even imagine the trauma, the heartbreak, just such a terrible situation. So thanks for saying that, Chase. That was definitely
good. Yeah, of course. And I hope now too that much like the players that we watched growing up that inspired him, hopefully he inspires a whole new crop of local Philadelphia, South Jersey area hockey players to get in and use his story as inspiration to go. And I'm sure that would make his parents, his wife, his whole family proud to know the impact he's made, not only in the U.S., but he made an impact in Canada too. I mean, that's crazy to have such a wide impact, everyone know who you are, and be so just positive. I mean, anytime I thought of him, it was like a smile, and I think about him. I just wanted to think about him like even 2 weeks ago. I think I was looking up his contract because I was wondering about, just wanted to relive that situation of that day when it was free agency. He pretty much said all he wanted to do was go to the Flyers, and an offer never came, and that was heartbreaking then as a Flyers fan to miss out on such a great player. I mean, he would have made the last 2 years something really special and worth watching for the Flyers, if not them sucking so bad. But that's the world, and yeah.
All right, well, we will move on here. Just quickly talk about the Mets.
Transition as best we can.
It's tough because
that's tough to get this guy amped up for the Metties.
Well, it's tough because you got to talk about, you don't want to, but yeah. So the Mets coming in tonight, they are half a game out of the playoffs, which is exciting. They've been kind of doing this roller coaster, this yo-yo, but I mean, they're 10 games over 500. If you told me 10 games over 500 at this point, at the beginning of the year, I would have been definitely happy with the results. The starting pitching has really solidified recently. Sean Manaea has been fantastic. DJ Peterson's been a great surprise, and then Quintana and Severino have definitely been better as well. So that rotation's been better. They still don't have anyone to really get to Diaz. Diaz has been better besides his one really bad game recently, but he's been good outside of that. So they're half game out, only like 3 back from the Brewers, or not the Brewers, the Padres.
Yeah.
But it was weird. I was rooting for the Phillies this week because I want the Mets to get great. It's a weird feeling, but yeah, I think the main thing they need is just some consistency in their lineup. Lindor's doing everything right now, and they don't have, they have, some good role players that are producing, but JD Martinez just went on the paternity leave, which is kind of crazy. I think is he 38? I was like, it's his first kid too. I was like, oh dang, of course it's a paternity leave in the middle of a playoff hunt with the Mets. It's his first time, which I mean, it's fine. Like, oh, okay,
yeah,
this is 30.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to quickly though talk about Lindor, and I know this isn't going to look favorable towards me. Necessarily the graph I'm about to show, but I still want to talk about it. So this is Shohei and Lindor this year. Again, like I said, I know it's not going to necessarily show favorably towards me, but Lindor I think deserves just a look at MVP. What Ohtani's doing is amazing, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. A DH has never won MVP before in the history of baseball. So for Ohtani to do it this year, it's pretty wild. Again, yes, his numbers are great. He's 6 home runs away and 4 stolen bases away from a 50-50 season, which has never been done before. But he only does DH. He only plays DH. So like there was a great segment on the MLB Network, and Buck Showalter is an analyst on there now. And he talked about, obviously he's a little biased because he had Lindor in the clubhouse, but he talked about how, Ohtani goes 0 for 4 one night. He can't affect the ball game in other ways. Like he goes 0 for 4, he can't win a ball game. Whereas Lindor plays Gold Glove defense. He can go 0 for 4 and still have a winning impact on the game. So it's from like that perspective, he's an interesting case. I mean, he's having a great year. I was upset that he didn't get he wasn't an all-star. And as of this point,
Still ridiculous. That's still so dumb.
and at this point, he's number 2 in the MVP like odds. So it's not like this isn't crazy. I mean, Ohtani's farther, but I mean, he's having a great year. 6.2 WAR. He's been great defensively. And Lindor's still only 30 years old. He's not old. Ohtani's 29. Lindor's on a Hall of Fame trajectory, honestly. And just, he's having a great year. And I think it's worth a look at him for MVP because Ohtani, I don't necessarily think a DH should win MVP. As good of a year as Ohtani's having, it's just, DH doesn't, there's a whole other aspect of baseball that a DH, doesn't.
In traditional baseball, DH doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
First of all. Also, Harper, when he won MVP, was he still in right field, Chase, on the Phillies? That was before all the injuries. But remember, he got hurt, and we talked about, how convenient. Like, they just brought the DH to the National League. Well, I'm just, thinking about Ohtani right now. It's a similar situation. One, would he even be necessarily playing right now if the Dodgers didn't even have the DH? And two, it's the stolen base thing. To me, it's a little bit – the bases are bigger, and they've changed the rules to try to expand it. And two, it a little bit – feels like he's pulling a Russell Westbrook where he's almost stat chasing a little bit. I know stolen bases are great and small ball is great, but the Dodgers are a great team. The other night he has 3 stolen bags. I don't know if he has to be running necessarily as much as he is. He's not playing in the field like Ben said too, so it's not like he's out there running all around and using more effort too. He's in the clubhouse just waiting, and I'm with Ben here actually. I'm not saying Ohtani shouldn't win, but it's just
I am. I don't think Ohtani should win.
Okay.
I don't think a DH should win. It's just
I'm in.
And he's protected by Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. The dude is not hitting with chumps. He's not.
Yeah.
That was one of my whole arguments for Bobby Witt. Aaron Judge literally gets to hit either in front of or behind Juan Soto. Bobby Witt gets a hit behind Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah,
and Sal Perez, but they're not the same comparison.
Well, okay, no shade on Perez though, but I you know what, I'm with you because I actually was for the NL keeping the DH, and the cool part about Ohtani was he was a pitcher that did hit, but obviously right now he's not the pitcher. Yeah. So, I mean, assuming he pitches again at some point in his career, he has plenty of other opportunities. Win, or couldn't he play another position? Harper's playing first base. Is it because he can't throw at all?
He's starting to throw, but they have Freddie Freeman. He's a Gold Glover. They're not going to put him at first.
Couldn't he? I guess he can't play.
But Lindor, besides 2021, his last, he played 161 games 2022, 2023, and this year he's leading the league in games. He's just been ultra consistent. He's not top 10 MVP both of the last 2 years. And he continues not to get recognition about it. And he's going to be a 30 year for stolen bases, which I know we just poo-pooed that for Ohtani, but he's the only shortstop I think will ever.
Yeah, but I feel like they've I don't have the games in front of me, but I feel like they've needed that more from Lindor. They've needed the stolen bases more from him in situational.
Lindor's definitely been more valuable to the Mets, I think, than Ohtani to the Dodgers. If the Mets did not have Lindor, they would be.
Yes, but as much as I hate Curry, he won the unanimous year when he was on a team with 2 other Hall of Famers next to him. So but I'm with you. I'm out on. You know what? You've convinced me. I was already on the fence about it. Screw the DH winning MVP. Sorry, Ohtani. Next year, maybe.
Now, on a normal year, Lindor stats, I don't know if he necessarily should win MVP, but you also have Ozuna, who has also played totally MVP or totally DH, and he might win the Triple Crown, but he's only played DH. This year, which no one's even talking about Marcell Ozuna, but he's hitting 306, 37 home runs, and 98 RBIs for the Braves, and he's played in second most games, but he's only played DH all year. So, another guy, but. Anyway, that's my rant on that. So Mets playoffs looking good right now, but they have a big stretch coming up. They got 8 of 11 against the Phillies here in, I think, a couple series. And then, so they played like the Phillies. I think they played the Phillies 4, the Braves 3, and then maybe the Phillies or the Braves 4 and the Phillies 3, but something like that. So that'll be a big stretch for the Mets. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But at least they're in it. I hope they can pull it out. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's crazy. There's so much going on right now in the sports world. It's a crazy time, but man, I like the take. That's how I wish you were with the Mets the whole year. But you know what? I'll take it this week with Lindor. Obviously, we want to pivot to. There's one or two other things we wanted to touch on right before the end of the show. Chase, obviously, Darlington this weekend was a wild race for sure. I actually caught some of it myself with Kyle Busch. So close to first. I still love the pick. I mean, I ended up, being a little more conservative as I always am and took the top 3. But
Same.
he had a heck of a job there at the end. But it was a good race.
Yeah, I would say it delivered for being the last race into the playoff push. Chase Briscoe was able to win and punch his ticket in, basically as a last-second buzzer beater, because otherwise he was not going to advance through points. The biggest win, I feel, was that Bubba Wallace was running strong, won the pole all weekend, and then got himself tangled up in a wreck towards the last third of the race, essentially putting himself out of the playoffs. I felt like that was a very magical moment. Yeah, definitely one I celebrated there. And then obviously going down to Kyle Busch, we were hyping him up last week, and I felt like he had enough to do it. He was really he was hanging around through the race, but he did drop off it a little bit, and then was able to battle it there. His car just didn't have it, but he was really giving some effort there. Almost was able to close it in, and put himself in the playoffs, but he still has a chance to keep his win streak going. Obviously, it won't matter much other than just for the win and the money. But, I would say this race delivered overall.
So when does this, I guess, elimination line happen?
I think it's just going into the first round of the playoff.
So you have to make top 12 to advance after the first round, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like I was gonna say maybe like next week or something, you give us a quick little recap on how like the playoffs works, because I think that might be helpful for some people, including myself.
Yeah, it goes through like knockout stages essentially, and then it'll end with I think it ends with 3 people in the final race.
But everyone's still racing, right, Chase?
Yeah. Yep.
It's not like you're watching 3 cars at the end go around.
That'd be kind of hype.
Yeah.
I just want to know. Go ahead, Chase. Sorry.
Yeah, it's still full things, and the guys who are out of the playoffs still race and can win the money, and obviously throw a wrench in all the playoff guys things. So that adds a little bit more excitement too. Is that who's going to be a spoiler? Bubba Wallace could go out there and not make the playoffs and ruin the whole postseason for everyone. So that's always in play. And there's consequences, but Kyle Larson on the Tyler Reddick, got to give it to him. I don't think he finished the year in driver standings, but damn good year, I would say, for that team being not that old to start off new and be that dominant all year. I think he's really put himself in a good position. Obviously, our guy, Christopher Bell, still in the race. Not too strong performances in the last half, but can't really put that up to just being caught into some traffic. So hopefully he can light it up now that we're back in the playoffs. But yeah, we'll definitely do a deeper playoff dive.
Is he like your favorite current racer, Chase, Christopher Bell?
I would say Christopher Bell or Ryan Blaney. I'd say they're 1 and 1A. Yeah. But I would say those two are at the top. I don't know. They just feel like pure racers, and I feel like they're guys too that haven't even got to the actual racing prime yet. Like, I think once they get and Ryan Blaney won a championship and Christopher Bell's contending for one. So that's a lot to say for accomplishing what they have in their careers already.
Yeah, for sure. So Chase, two quick questions. First, so Christopher Bell, does he essentially have to finish top 12 out of this group to make it to the next round in the next race?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then second question, Ben, can you scroll down real quick?
Yeah.
How in the heck is Martin Truex Jr. in the playoff chase? How did he make it in there? Is that just because of the Austin Dillon thing? Like, I don't understand. He was out when I was watching Darlington. He was outside of he was a bubble guy. He was outside of the top 16 and he wrecked on lap 3. How is he in there right now? Can you just explain that to me?
Yeah, I don't know all the specifics behind it, but I think just because of the way the race ended, it pushed people down and that was around him. Because, I mean, for the longest time, Ross Chastain and Bubba Wallace were the 1 and 2 on the bubble, and I don't even know where they ended up at. Yeah, Bubba Wallace was 16th, which was generous.
Martin Truex was 36 out of 37.
Yeah, it's just I don't know the logistics.
Yeah,
of
I'd have to go back through and look. Oh wait, hold on.
And it's a
It
little
says
bit
right
of me
here.
being ignorant to the sport of NASCAR.
It
but
says it on the right-hand side if you go down a little bit.
What does it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it says Truex nearly had his playoff hopes upended after a lap 3 error sent him into turn 1 with Ryan Blaney, ending the day for the 2 former champs. Truex attempted to pass him and Byron, blah, 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 whatever. It's over. He was able to clinch his spot in the postseason at the conclusion of stage 2 nonetheless. So I guess because the fact he was running, just the way everything else ended, he was able to stay up there. I guess he had enough points on the year.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to him. I know he's retiring.
Yeah, he's definitely sneaky, though. I did not realize that Martin Truex got in there. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was wild to me. Maybe it was a little bit of them because it's his last year running, and he's been a pretty solid guy. But
yeah, I mean, he's had good stage wins, so I feel like that was probably what kept him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun one, guys. I think we'll wrap it up there. Chase, thanks for the NASCAR season wrap up, and I guess we'll dive in here to playoffs. Got a lot to talk about over the next few weeks with NASCAR, baseball,
and we didn't even get to touch on college football. And I mean, Penn State for all three of us. That's one of the few teams where all three of us are on the same boat. So great start to the season for them. But we're gonna have to figure out a way to find time for these things.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed.
But as we wrap up the show, Ben, if you want to share one more time, Ben or Chase, the Eliminator Challenge, just get up there one more time while we're talking. Obviously, this is something you have to join before Thursday, September 4th, 5th. I get my dates right here. But, so you can see it up here. But also throughout the season, too, we are going to be building your own daily DraftKings lineup for the week. Mm-hmm. We plan on doing that Saturday mornings-ish. We'll probably hop on live if we can all get together, and then obviously throw it up on social media too in case you can't catch us at a different time. We'll probably be fairly consistent like our shows about the same time every week once we get that straightened out for the next 18 weeks. You can get some free lineups out there too, and to see maybe a couple start sits for your own team. But so Eliminator Challenge here, fantasy football on Saturday, Tuesdays at 7:30, our weekly podcast. Somehow trying to get all this stuff in. It's a great time of year, and we've been having a lot of fun. And thanks to everyone for joining again tonight. So,
all right.
But with that, episode 78, after further review of the AFR squad, Ben, Ryan, and Chase is officially out. Peace. See you guys next Tuesday.